A few weeks later, he calls for the king and says, "Come on, I have something to show you." And so they go into this room, and here's this old man, very, very old, 80, 90 years old, you know, on his deathbed. And he's very weak, you know. And so they come into the room, and they're standing by the side of the bed. And the guru says, you know, here's the king, you know. And the man is like, "Oh, here's the king." You know, he's like not in such good shape. So anyway, they're talking back and forth, you know. It was someone that the king had known, right? That they were basically a pious person and all like that. So then in the middle of this conversation, by the arrangement of the guru, then the king's daughter comes in the room on the other side. Okay? And of course the king's prince, she's a princess, she's very nicely dressed, she's very beautiful and all that. So the guy is talking with the king, you know, and the prince to come in the palace and like that. And here's the king himself personally visiting him. But then as soon as the beautiful woman walks in the room, the senses and mind are just automatically attracted. So the guru's point was well made. That you see, this whole life, this man was serving materialistic things. And then even at the end of his life, he gets this big blessing. He gets the guru of the king and all like this, and he gets all this facility so he can think of that, but it's too late. It's too late. He's already formed his mental habits and locked those in because he has accumulated so many impressions of that quality. So then as soon as the pretty girl comes in the room, you know, it's just automatic. He can't help himself. He can't maintain his focus on spiritual activities because he has too much habits built up in the material way. So that doesn't mean that we should all like leave our families or anything like that. But what it does mean is that we should cultivate spiritual activities steadily throughout the whole life. You know, and in India they have this saying, "A saint in truth is a saint in youth." That means from the very beginning of life, we should cultivate the spiritual activities. You know, Prahlad Maharaj talks about this. And he says commonly, he's trying to preach to his schoolmates, and their schoolmates are saying, "Well, we're just young kids. You know, we should just like hang around and play and do all this nonsense. And, you know, then later on we can do spiritual life." And Prahlad says, "No, look, you're wasting so much time. Let's say a human being's life is 100 years. Then during the first 20 years, it's just all nonsense, fun and games. And then they become married, they get married. At age 20, let's say they get married. And then the next 20 years is raising children, right? Household affairs, all right? So now they're 40, 50 years old, and then they retire, and then they want to enjoy all of the accumulated material possessions and money, you know, and like travel and go on vacation and like that, right? So maybe the next 20 years are all this retirement, enjoying that. And then finally, 60 years of age, maybe they finally get around to some spiritual activities. But by then it's too late, because the majority of your activities, the majority of your impressions in the life are of material quality. So you're not going to be able to attain enlightenment. You're not going to be able to attain salvation. So this is all very well known, very well explained in the scriptures. So why do people still have this misconception? You know, it's because they don't read the scriptures. If they would read these things, then they would understand. Or, alternatively, if people had knowledge of consciousness and how consciousness is formed, and how consciousness, the quality of our consciousness is influenced by the quality of the impressions that we absorb, then they would very, very easily understand all these things. And